Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and all of you, my co-hosts out there, which makes this channel so great. Join me this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as we talk about, well, wine and beer, grain and grape, and the most ubiquitous and uh, drinking traditions in our real world and how we can kind of merge them into our tabletop role playing experience. Uh, from the earliest amount of time we can go back to humanity using alcohol as part of our traditions to symbolize everything from uh, births and deaths to coronations and much more. They represent our seasonal changes, and it's even incorporated into our safety to allow us to exist in this world. And so I thought, and it came up a lot of times. These themes come up from our conversations previously, from a previous week or two, and on its surface, it doesn't seem like there's much meat on the bone, if you will. But I think in this case, while we don't necessarily need to stick to modern day alcoholic beverages, I think the concepts behind it and the motivations behind it, I think really work for us. So let's dive on in. Now, excuse me, this being Wednesday, normally it's called World Building Wednesday. And I think there is plenty of space for us to tell some stories and even to have a little bit of a lightheartedness, if you will, to the concept of using, alcohol and beer and things of that nature, some libation, if you will, for our tabletop storylines. Now, one of the things that I think uh, is in, let's see if this will show up. No. Okay. Um, uh, Chemical analysis recently confirmed that the earliest alcoholic beverage in the world was a mixed fermented drink of rice, honey, and hawthorn fruit and or grape. Results of the beverage dated circa 7,000 to 6,600 BCE were recovered from early pottery from Jahawu, a Neolithic village in the Yellow River Valley. And I would almost bet that through a course of I would almost bet that by accident. I mean, I'm sure this was done on purpose, but I'd almost say by accident, alcohols are created because of the yeast and sugar breakdown and whatnot, and the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of prototype alcoholic beverages of things somewhere someone tried to turn into an alcoholic beverage and failed, or at least no one would particularly want to drink such a thing. Alcohol also turns to vinegar if it's not done right, or it spoils and all that kind of business. And then it has to be aged, and there's lots of steps along the way that I think if we turn the volume up a bit is pretty interesting. I mean, for example, let's see if I can find. I do have a see if I can find my document here. I actually, during the writing of a document I was going to make for my cinematic environments, which is a cityscapes, and I still have it around here. I made a long list of alcohols and and let's see if it's here. Long list of alcohols, what types of alcohols they were, and their names, so you can make, because it was basically going to be like a um, random table for taverns and things of that nature. And let's see if I can find it. Anyway, a lot of the most common. Did I find? Yes, I did. Woohoo! Wow, I'm actually surprised I was able to find this document. Sweet. Okay, so for some examples of alcohols and what they are made from. Let's see if I can. What? The heck? There we go. Okay. All right. Um, we have ourselves Absinthe. I haven't seen this in a long time. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. Um, maybe we'll do. Maybe what we'll do is because I think this kind of it's kind of fun. As more people join in, we'll make up some random drinks here. See, we might do that. Anyway, uh, we got absinthe, a spirit distilled from wormwood and normally served with sugar cane fibers or raw sugar crystals. And I believe the absinthe is usually drop like a sugar cube inside of it. We've got ale, which is a beer brewed using uh, fruit, herbs, and spices using warm fermentation. We've got brandy distilled from wine and aged in wooden casks. Cider produced from fermented apples. We've got gin, which is a spirit derived from juniper berries. We've got grog, which is basically watered down rum or beer. One can drink twice as many pints of grog before getting drunk. Grog also doubles as replenishment for dehydration. And lastly, keeps contamination away out of, because too often water was contaminated, which was why so many people, well, drank alcohol, because it would kill the bacteria in a lot of water. So you'd have to mix it and water it down, and that's where grog came from. So people were, for a long period of time, people were mildly drunk all the time. There's even a oversimplified YouTube channel, oversimplified, about prohibition, which in and of itself, even that historical period of time in the U.S. is pretty would be pretty fun to put in a tabletop role playing thing. Anyway, we've got lagers, a beer conditioned at low temperatures and using the low fermented mix. We've got liqueurs, made from a distilled spirit that has been flavored with fruit, cream, herbs, spices, flowers, or nuts, and bottled with added sugar or maple syrup. I didn't make these up, so if there's some mistakes in this, I pulled these. I did a little Wikipedia foo on a lot of these. Anyway, we've got malts, which is alcohol derived from barley. We've got mead made from fermented honey. We've got pilsners, a top fermented mix. I guess when things are fermenting, there's like a top mix, bottom mix, because things settle, lighter things to the top, heavier things to the bottom. I don't know how that works. Porter is an aged brown malt. We've got sake, alcohol from fermented rice. We've got stouts, which is a roasted malt, barley, hops, and yeast in various ratios. We've got rum, distilled from sugar cane or molasses and aged in oak barrels. Yeah, rum. Um, I, I'm a Myself and my wife are people of a certain age, and we like to go cruising. Now, of course, haven't done so in 2 years plus, but when we were cruising, at least once a year, if not more, you go down in the Caribbean, and it's like the rum pours first thing in the morning and until the last thing at night. It's crazy. It's like water there. It's crazy. Free and pouring all the time. Tequila is made from agave plants. Uh, Also known for having a worm in the bottom of of some of its bottles. Vodka, primarily made from fermented potatoes and distilled. Whiskey, distilled from fermented grains such as corn, rye, and wheat. And we've got wine, a clear or red alcohol from the fermentation of grapes and then aged for months to hundreds of years. The grapes, ratio of yeast and additives, and the wooden barrels used in the aging process are used in specific recipes. And I mean, mind you, it can go on and on and on. Well, good morning there, you guys. Good morning. Good morning. And of course, I mean, today with so many microbreweries and different cultures and the breeds of the biologics that have the sugars in them and the the fermenting process and all that kind of business. I mean, it's so you can get so many different variations. It's crazy. Deadman says, Malort, the drink of Chicago, basically a form of absinthe originally brewed with wormwood weeds from the roadside. Yeah. Um, it's it's listen, they they make prison wine in like toilets and stuff. So people are pretty. It's like if it wasn't for alcohol to to soothe people's emotional states, I guess, or at least as a tried and true reward for achieving things or something. I don't know where we would be. Um, I mean, heck, we pour out alcohol. Someone dies, someone pours out alcohol. You go to I've been to a number of funerals where somebody takes a favorite alcoholic beverage, and uh, people will give a toast and they'll put a bottle in the casket and stuff. Oh man! And you go to a biker funeral, and I've been to one. You talk about a casket full of any number of accoutrements, including uh, bottles of top shelf alcohols and things. But in terms of now, let's get into some of the world building because we can all talk about our favorite drinks. People who know so much about everything from microbrewing and beers to wines and where they're from. But I think something that we might be overlooking in again, this could be a little bit comedic or a soft shoe a little bit, a little tongue in cheek and whatnot, is basically like all the most expensive wines are going to come from the rarest of commodities, whether that be the high yields and the best wheat or rice or grains, whether they are grapes that are of a particular breed that grow in certain places like vineyards and whatnot, and threats to that itself may be cause for an adventure. I mean, when I'm sure that nobles, if you have a fantasy world where you have nobles and rich merchants and powerful people, they're going to want to have the best. And like any profession, you're going to have your back alley version, and then you're going to have your rarefied version, and then you're going to have the mix of the two. That back alley individual who makes that particular drink that might become famous, and who's to say that a particular treaty or diplomatic envoys or anything like that may come together over a specified type of drink, whether it's a a warmed beer or wine or a highly chilled kind of version, and maybe certain types of cultures and or a mix of race and cultures might come out with a particular kind of drink. I mean, a classic trope in fantasy Dungeons and Dragons are that dwarves make the strongest alcohols because they can take it, and it to them everything else just tastes like watered down, like I don't know, water and piss or something. And then of course you have the elves, which is supposedly they always come across as the wine drinkers with their pinkies in the air and looking down their noses, where the classic stereotype of dwarves is that they have frothy mugs and can't get enough. Yeah. Hey Z, I woke you up, didn't I? Anyways, Zamara says, wars over land due to the lust of the liquor of the gods. Absolutely. Yep, gods demanding specific qualities of beer. Yeah. Oh hell yeah. Yeah. And like a elves and berry rot guzzlers, yeah. And who knows, like okay, in a practical sense, again, alcohol purifies water. I mean, it can kill contaminants in regular water. So drinking may not only just be popular, it may be necessary to travel far distances, or we love ourselves in post-apocalyptic settings. An individual or a group of people who can make different types of alcohol. I mean, there were in our own real world, there were monks, nuns, and monks that were known for making alcohols while they were cloistered away, and they became very popular drinks and such. And it may be necessary for viewed as a divine thing. Hey, we drink this to the gods because they keep us alive, and so a necessity can always translate into some kind of faith or divinity or a tradition. even if people don't no longer need to use it. Maybe humanity traveled from a far distance across a devastating landscape and they did it drinking grog, and then when they get home they don't need to, but people always pour out a glass of grog for the fallen, and it could become a popular drink or something, even if it's pretty terrible. And I don't have a palate for most alcohols. I'm a sissy drinker. I've got to have fruity drinks and frozen drinks and all that kind of stuff. Like I have ice creams in them. Like I have to do that kind of thing. And so I'm a straight up sissy drinker. And I know it's terrible to use an analogy, but it's true. And uh, but a lot of alcohols, people get used to it, but it's like I don't know how much it's a natural fit for the palate. Anyway, Dead Man says Mal Malor. Let's see if I can get this before I put it on up. Jepson's Malor or Malort is named after Carl Jeppson, the Swedish immigrant who first distilled and popularized the liquor in Chicago. See, there we go. We have an immigrant story where people may live somewhere and someone from a distant, like in fantasy gaming, maybe gnomes or a notable tiefling or a small cadre of dragonborn or something come into town, and then they brought with them this drink. Anyway, um, Malort, literally moth herb, is the Swedish word for wormwood, which is the key ingredient in a bask, a bitter flavored type of Swedish um, Bronvin. Malort is known for its bitter taste. Also, let's be honest, right? Some of the fun of certain types of activities, whether it's including food and drink, is it's not necessarily whether it tastes good, it's can you survive it. It's like hot wings, right? Or super sweet or super sour food, super, uh, trying to find a meal, especially here in the States with hot foods that like basically burns going in and burns your ass coming back out and stuff. So that may also be a thing too with certain kinds of alcohols that are always pushing the alcohol content limit. And we've all been in locations where people are like, oh, if you mix these two kinds or more alcohols together, it'll get you effed up or whatever. And then different people have different tolerances for alcohol. And of course, everyone has that. At least one friend who's like, I never get drunk while they're like tipsy and you got to pick them up off the ground and stuff. Anyway, that man says the number of ingredients in drinks may vary, but grog typically has just one kind of liquor, most commonly vodka or Brovin, but others like rum, whiskey, cognac, or eau de vie are also used, and one kind of non-alcoholic beverage. I guess that's mixed into that, and of course, as we know with the names of mixed drinks, they are combined with various types of alcohol from various entities. So not only could you have valuable vineyards and places that uh, grow the sugars that we're going to use, whether it's sugar cane or rice or wheat and rye, barleys, or whatever the case may be. Not only might they be very valuable and need to be protected, you can have yep, 10 tons of sugar sources, and those sugar sources don't necessarily need to be sugar. It's sugar as a uh, fibrous compound, not sugars like we're used to eating. But yeah, um, but those sugar compounds and that yeast that's needed to make them, they may all be valuable. So you can have the classic like protect the caravan storyline where the PCs need to maybe you could even have bodyguard stories where the PCs need to protect a vineyard and they have to take various shifts because the grapes or whatever is being, I'm going to say grapes, but it's I'm using that as a catch-all for so many other things. I'll use sugarcane or something or corn or whatever. But anyway, maybe they need to protect a large vineyard or crops because the classic fire beetles or ankhegs or other swarms of insects or birds or whatever like to need to eat it and whatnot, and keep trying to keep away all the pests and stuff, and the scarecrows don't work, or maybe the players, maybe these maybe the it's being consumed. It's so because it's being consumed by massive beasts or something, and it's very difficult to get it. Or maybe these sugars grow in places or found in places that are very hard for humanity to get to. Mountainsides, desolate deserts, deep in jungles, in swamps. We talked about Dune and spice. It's basically, you know, worm shit, essentially spice blow, and maybe there's something like that. I'm sure. I can guarantee you that in the world of Dune, that there are alcoholic beverages made with spice, and this may be the same thing where the and of course status fluctuates with this as well. Someone wants to move up the ladder of status, being powerful and rich and having influence, and maybe they find another grove of whatever is being broken down for alcohol, and so they need to protect it, or refine it, get it ready for harvest, all that kind of stuff. You're really into this Brovin thing, man. Um, Damn, it brings up Brovin is a Swedish term for liquor distilled from potatoes, grain, or formerly wood cellulose. Yep. It can be plain and colorless or flavored with herbs and spices, which is often done with uh, in various forms with aging alcohols and things like that. The term includes vodka and aquavit or aquavit, but aquavit is always flavored. I think you're into that. I think you have some right now. Mm-mm-mm. Bronvin was central to the semi-mythical world in the songs of Sweden's bards. Carl Michael Bellman, for example, in Friedman's. There we go. It's got to move me a little bit. Let's see if it'll show up here. I love bawdy songs with alcohol. First begins cheers, both night and day, new pleasure, new delight, moisten your ash, which is probably the dry throat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm I haven't Google food um songs and ballads and limericks with alcohol, but I'm sure there's a way, and I almost guarantee you go down a rabbit hole of the what is it in absolute tabletop, the tabletop terrorist guys. It's like they always do the salutation. I mean the they do a drinking farewell at the end of their videos, and always drink it slancha, and it's like something kill a snake or whatever. I can't remember what it is. I'm live, so my mind is going on many other things. Zamar says an interesting story you can make is a silk trade story. Yeah, the players have to sneak into a country to steal a butt or a ton sized barrel or half made beer for another country. Yep, absolutely, hell yeah. To gain access to the yeast that can make alcohol stronger because they can eat more sugar and survive higher alcohol content. Oh hell yeah. And listen, anything we can do to complicate the players' lives, and as dungeon masters, game masters, like, and what I mean complicate is find new vectors of threat and ramp up the tension. And usually anything that ramps up the tension and pressure is always a great tool to put in our toolbox. So time is always on our side as game masters, dungeon masters. Get people to keep moving. Whether it's something needs to be aged, something needs to get from one PCs need to get from A to B, and anything that gets in their way that stops them, that's always one thing. That's always a great vector of challenge. Like, yes, PCs can beat things about the head and shoulders, but if they keep wasting time doing that, they won't be able to move forward in the story. But also another vector of challenge is to give them something they have to care about, right? So whether that thing they have to care about is a, like you said, a Zamara, maybe there's a cask that's like a ton, and they have to bring with them a bunch of NPC hirelings, like laborers or workers, or a caravan of animals or wagons or something, and they have to get this stuff from A to B, and having to care for it. Giant monsters that don't really want to hurt the PCs, but keep trying to eat all the wheat that's in the back of the wagons, and they're like, listen, we've got a 10 full wagons and we need to at least 5 to survive. And goblins keep trying to steal it, and ant cakes keep coming out of the ground to eat through the crops or something or whatever. And maybe the player characters need to use various methods to keep it contained, or purified, or what have you. Maybe it needs to be sealed, or I don't know. Heck, maybe one or more of the player characters have a divine connection, and they need to bless it once a day, or during the full moon, or high noon, or something like that, so on and so forth. And having those little, giving the player characters a need to do a thing that's not necessarily hit point um, modulation and reduction, is always once again just another vector to go after the PCs, and it's great, and I love it. Anyway, Zamar mentions that you can also have alcohol be a part of healing potions. Yep, due to a specific sugar source or yeast combo. Yeah, a la Japanese style rice wine needed specific bacteria to break down the rice for the yeast. And this is a great way. Zamar brings up something that's a great way to add flavor to a thing that we in fantasy gaming kind of overlook. We do this a lot, but for example, well, I'll get to something else, but when it comes to like a healing potion or potions in general, maybe those potions, while ubiquitous in your world, require particular ingredients outside of just drinking them. We always think of the golden fluid drink. I don't know, golden. Anyway, sorry. Makes me think of Bear Grylls drinking his own urine. But anyway, you drink down the golden fluid and it heals you, and it's like, yeah, but maybe they can't make it unless it's made of something else, right? Like like Dead Man says, all de vie. I know I'm butchering the French there, or Latin is Latin that translates to water of life, which I'm sure is translated to French from Latin to French. But anyway, yeah, and most people consider alcohols. Most peoples have considered alcohols to be, the nectar of life. It's from the gods and whatnot. And I think in the role playing game Within the Ring of Fire, if I'm not mistaken, there's at least one godling that was killed, and their blood is part of the earth. In this world is a physical thing, and you could very well have a god that has bled down to the earth, and literally out of the ground comes this drink, this alcoholic drink that is literally a nectar of the gods or something. So yeah, named by the namer. Okay, says some animals will gather and eat spoiled fruit that have fermented. Absolutely, hell yeah. And it could be a nuisance as well. I haven't read your rest of your comment yet, but um, spoiled fruits and fermented fruits and the waste product of creating alcohol could also itself be an issue as well. But anyway, mixing predator and prey, it's peaceful until the effects run off. Drunk animals. Isn't there a rumor that the Shaolin martial arts style, monkey style, came from a prisoner that watched drunk monkeys? I thought I heard something like that, like a mythological, like that's where monkey style martial arts came from. Anyway, game wise, maybe a celebration for different factions in the area, and uh, uh, and accord during and according during the celebration, and accord during the celebration. Yeah, like maybe there is. Um, thanks, D. Yeah, maybe there is a, like, by by circumstance or by choice, predators and animals and prey or something like that eats or consumes maybe a byproduct or the alcohol itself that is able to have this low period of peace before things get really wild. Like for example, maybe there's predators that happen to come around and eat animals that the predators get pacified from eating prey that happens to consume something that gets them drunk from the fermented cast off, and it's like, oh, the PCs are told you got to clean this up. The nobility like clean this up, and not realizing that there might be a horrible side effect of getting rid of one that makes the predators pissed off. They're like, I like my drunk cows. As the displacer beasts are all pissed off because they can't eat the drunk cows or something. Yeah, Deadman says the drunken monkey hypothesis proposes that alcohol and primarily the ethanol molecule, is routinely consumed by all animals that eat fruits and nectar. Ooh, that might be actually a pretty fun thing to think about as well. Like maybe there are maybe if the players are going into unknown territory, they how to explain this. There is the reason why, for example, the lizard men never from the deep swamp. I don't know. They don't have to live in swamps, but whatever. They live out in this deep swamp. Um, that man's like drunk bees are lit, litty titty. Just getting drunk, and like I said, maybe there's a pacifying effect. Like the lizard folk don't attack; they never have, and they barely talk to anyone. It's like, well, why? You come to realize, like, man, these fruits out on these trees out here in the swamp like naturally ferment. No wonder they're like this. And then maybe there's a noble who could care less and is like, oh, I want all those fruits confiscated for myself because of my wine collection. And the PCs are like, you can't take this. Like you're going to start a war if you take these fermented fruits and whatnot. And of course, we have the traditional from I listen, I'm a guy of a certain age that used to watch Kung Fu theater on like I think it was Saturday afternoons or something, and tons of what was it? Drunken Mantis and Sam Seed and Dance of the Drunken Mantis was the one. That was a classic one. That was before um, Jackie Chan's original Drunken Master, and then of course Jackie Chan revisits it 20 years later with Drunken Master 2. But the drunken fighter, martial arts style, the person who carries around who seems innocuous and stumbles and everything, but carries around the jug of alcohol. And if you ever take a look at uh, a clip of the Dance of the Drunken Mantis, there's two characters who both have drunken style. Of course, one is using martial arts of Drunken Mantis, the other one just using plain drunken style. And the Drunken Mantis fighter is like well dressed, and he's got like the nice jug with the with a ribbon or a tabard around it, and then Sam Seed's got like the holes in his shoe and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty fun, and you could tell like that individual has been replaced by different uh, actors in the stunt choreography, but it's fun to watch anyway. Zamar says, I have a wine in my game, Easter Elven wine, okay, that was made by an extinct culture of elves. Bottles found of that liquor is worth its weight in platinum. Hell, hell yeah. Yeah, at least once a year we hear about a, a at least one bottle of alcohol that sells for a hugest amount of money. And heck, how many movies and television shows have we seen people like who shouldn't be having easy access to alcohol in like the most in the most egregious locations? And you're just like, why is everybody drinking so much? Oh man. Zamara says, and nobody knows how to make more. Okay, with the Easter Elven wine, all right. Or what ingredients are needed to make more. But the ingredients can be found in a place that was once a verdant forest, now a desert. And that's the thing, rarity. Like, sure, we give out gold. Sometimes we throw in a couple of like gemstones, and for some reason they all happen to be uh, tumbled or cut, even though they were found in some far off place. But whatever. But we do that in our role playing game, in our fantasy gaming, for treasure, whatever. I found 1,000 piece diamond, gold piece diamond or something. But um, art and other materials, whether it's like art pieces and statuettes, and of course alcohol fits into this perfectly. And listen, you give a player character an extremely valuable bottle of alcohol. I mean, do you really want to put it in the barbarian's backpack, or do you want to put it in a wizard's backpack next to the spell book and the components, right? So you're going to have to protect it that way as well. You break it, it's like, oh man. But I mean, how many times have we seen especially our television shows, right? Every single CEO has alcohol sitting in their little carafe on the side. We've seen we, all of our police, fire, detectives, medical television procedural shows, all of them, they always go to a local bar and get lit. And I'm just like, I I get it that you know people's personal lives, you gotta relax some kind of way, but yeah, the fact that you have like alcohol in the bottom drawer of your in the detective's precinct, and somebody who's basically over the lives of everyone in this hospital is like, hey, you want a drink? Sure, let's have a drink. And I'm like, no, that's a terrible thing to have. I don't know, to me, I'm just thinking like if I were to have like alcohol at my workplace that I just pull out and start pouring a drink with the boss, I'm like, yeah, that happens once and I'm fired. But I don't know, maybe it's different in other cultures, but of course, heck, we go back to our divinity conversation. Wine is. I'm using this as an example, not as its only example, but wine has been thought of as like the nectar of the gods. In religion, the blood of God and whatnot. It can be used. It can be brought out for specific to authorize to bring some kind of closure or opening of a celebration for a particular thing. Like, for example, how many times have we seen the idea of breaking a bottle of champagne against a new ship? So, whether it is like cutting the ribbon on breaking ground, where you take the shovel into the dirt, maybe there's a brand new building, someone cuts the ribbon to let everybody in. What happens with a sailing vessel? Take the bottle of champagne, break it against the side, and it's on, and then boom, it's. But what if it's not done? What if in a fantasy world, if you don't do these things, maybe the gods are pissed off, and avatars or agents of the gods know, like, you took a sailing vessel and you didn't pour one out for me, or you know maybe that vessel gets lost in the ocean and the PCs need to go find it or something like that. Yep. Um, Dead Man says for negatives relating to alcohol, wood cellulose can make methanol, a minorly toxic form of alcohol. Yes, if alcohols aren't produced correctly, they can create other things. Like, for example, alcohol poisoning. Like, we use rubbing alcohol, so it's not just creating alcohol, but creating a flavorful beverage of creating alcohol. Whereas we do have alcohol for purity versions, right? Like, technically, rubbing alcohol is a curative of sorts. It cleans wounds and kills all kinds of bacteria and contaminants and things like that. So, in a way, it's a potion. Like, I don't know. I would rather not pour alcohol in an open wound. I'd rather have some peroxide. Um, and remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember the old iodine from school? God, I hated getting abrasions and having that little cotton swab rubbed with the iodine. Oh, but but that's a different story. But my point being is that there are negatives to creating alcohol unless the negative portion of that is used for something else as well. Yes, it's kind of cool. And let's see, Zamar says in older D&D, it's good to give copper and silver, not gold. In 5e, we give gold, but we should be giving art and jewelry. Yep, we should absolutely. And ancient goods that players must value, alcohol included. I absolutely agree with you. Now, first of all, I like the idea of players' characters needing to handle things that are awkward. Whether it's a tapestry and you have to roll the thing up, or an ancient map or something, or a painted art piece that isn't very heavy, but it's an awkward size and shape. Um, Different types of jewelry, whether like rings and tiaras and torques and medallions, and you could go on and on and on. Combs in the hair, things like that might be extremely valuable, and it might be valuable culturally, you know. Whereas a small statuette for one people are just like, whatever, it's marble, I don't really care what it is. Whereas somebody else might go, oh, that belongs to the family of so and so 8 generations hence, and what, so then that value can start to fluctuate. And I absolutely agree with you. You know, I've always felt like copper was for lower class to middle class. Silver was your business people, middle line value, and then gold and above was for extremely. You exchanged gold for extremely valuable content. Like you wouldn't bring out dollar bills to buy a car, but you would use like gold and platinum to buy a car or a house or something like that, or pay for 20 soldiers in their armory or something like that, for huge expenditures. Zamar says, or maybe you have to bring alcohol with you, and every week or day of the journey, an angel or demon interrupts your travel for a sacrifice. Wine or blood, safe travels. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, people be saying grace before a meal may be a thing in this world. And so doing so with a drink, and everyone having a drink, whether they're drinking grog on sailing vessels, you're traveling across the ancient desert. And of course, um, uh, lots of alcohols have are spiced and flavored and things. So if you want to do like a desert, uh, a desert Bedouin styled culture in your world, and you're out there in the desert, they make chai flavored with alcohols or things, and you can only find the sugars in these specific oases, and if you don't drink them, maybe you could never find the next oasis. And it's like you have to. Oh no, they look at you like, oh no, you're going to drink. And when PC's like, nah, I don't. My character doesn't drink. And you're like, no, 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 we all have to drink because we get out here, we're going to be lost. There might be something arcane within the world. Heck, I mean, we haven't even brought up Fae, the Fae, and their Seder and Sprite and Pixie wines and things like that. We didn't even talk about that because we always know. Listen, you're never supposed to drink the Pixie wine, but we do anyway. Named by the Namer mentions a wizard is collecting various books and strange ingredients. The major governments of the nation think it's doing something nefarious. Yeah, yeah. PCs are asked to stop them. They're just making bathtub wine. Hell yeah, hell yeah. And then maybe when they find out about it, they're like, "This is incredible." Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. Why not? And maybe the PCs are tasked with gathering components, and they have zero idea what they're doing it for. And the PCs are like all suspicious, like, we shouldn't be doing this. Um, and they're always trying to figure out what the wizard's doing. The wizard's like is literally using all kinds of magic to keep it secret. Got like chained up beasts around the wizard's tower and stuff. That would be awesome. Yeah, in the Feywild. Ouch! In Feywild's blood is wine. Ooh, ooh, that would be, well. You could get very dark with that, but at the same time, you could have tremendous enemies created. Maybe humanity is mutating by drinking the Fey wine that they shouldn't have had in the first place. Maybe there's like a dark Fey or something like that that's killed. I don't know. They've drunk the blood of the slain unicorn or something, like, right. And of course the unicorn was hunted down, and it's this very rare, distilled wine, you'd only just need just a little drop on the tongue, and giving it to humanity, it mutates them in like chimera or something like that, whatnot. But everybody wants it. Deadman says rubbing, modern rubbing alcohol is isopropyl alcohol. Yep, absolutely. Which in and of itself, yeah, is a thing. All right. Brayton mentions if you want to sacrifice something truly valuable or make something expensive, there's bronze. Okay. It's utterly impossible to make without certain ingredients. And in the ancient world, they existed in a few select places exclusively. Copper was relatively easy and cheap to find and mine, but tin, the second main ingredient in bronze, yeah, tin, was so rare and hard to find that its trade was the most secure thing in the Bronze Age. And using that, although we're not specifically talking about, we're talking about alcohol here, but if you talk about ingredients and finding those ingredients, just that itself, maybe player characters have access to like listen, we love to have herbalists, artificers, um, um, chemical concoctions in our world, and even for player character concepts, maybe they have to periodically go to these rare places, earn lots of gold to spend money on it, make connections with people who have access to it. And again, there's a here we have another vector to complicate the player characters' lives, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I mean, heck, maybe certain ingredients are needed for specific spell like effects. Like you don't take away what a character can do, but they only have access to certain things they can do. Right. I mean, I know Fireball doesn't have alcohol in it, but what I'm saying is maybe there's something. I mean, for example, Fireball classically had bat guano as one of its material components. Well, you you need bats, and then you need their droppings. So if there's no bats or droppings around, you don't have Fireball access to it. So you haven't lost it, you just don't have access to it. Maybe you have access to something else of a similar rarity, and alcohol may be the same thing. Like, rum made from sugarcane is different than vodka made from potatoes, but there's still alcohols that are available. Mufa says Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, but instead of consuming metals, you have to consume different alcohols for your powers. Yeah, yeah, and different types of effects. All right, guys. Do me a favor, uh, all of you, and you could roll for this or whatever. Um, please come up with 4 rolls of D20, and I will give you a random alcoholic drink. So 4 D20 rolls. Don't add them together. You're going to get. You're going to come up with a random alcoholic drink at a very strange tavern. So, but when you're ready for that, just go ahead and throw that in the chat. Um, anyway, uh, Brayton mentions there are also different ways to make wine and beer. Oh yeah. In my favorite world building, I wrote an entirely water-based society, okay, living in port cities. And their agriculture was entirely aquatic. All right. They made special wine using certain types of fermented seaweed that was so strong that it had to be diluted with fruits to make it drinkable. I see, and what a perfect example, right? Like if you're wherever your cultures are at, like I mean, we love fantasy, so we have like you have a completely aquatic culture. I'm picturing Sargossa floating cities and things like that, or like maybe they're submerged, or maybe they have these. Anyway, so I see your numbers there, but we love ourselves. What is it? Floating castles. We always have to have a floating island somewhere. Well, are they able to make alcohol there? Do they have to import it? Is it with the angels and fiends, do they literally come down from the heavens or come up from hell and bless and or curse something? Or maybe the you guys brought it up before, maybe the demons or the celestials or something come around because we are able to create a drink that they can't get, which would be pretty interesting to have demons and angels hanging out. All right, Z. So Z brings up 1411 419. All right, your drink is. Here we go. Let's get back to the top here. All right, so your drink is Let's see. It is a sour magenta, and number four, sour magenta cider with a side effect that it causes, number 19, it causes weakness. Anyway, they're D20 tables. They're D20 tables. Let's see. And Brait, Brayton says 15, 7, 19, 2. All right. So, and your drink is, there we go. It is a 15 spicy, 15, a spicy golden wine, and that causes a carousing nature. So anyway, this is going to be part of the Cityscapes book. So for example, like under, what's an example? The first table has the texture. So it's like bitter, bubbly, cool, creamy, effervescent, electrical, fruity, hot. It goes on and on. Salty, silky, smoky, smooth, strong, sweet, tart, thick. And then you have a color. And it's all colors like amber, blonde, brown, cloudy, crimson, indigo, magenta, milky, moss, orange, seafoam, sunset, kind of colors like that. And then I have a long list of alcohol types. And then you always have to have a side effect from drinking alcohol. So you have things like blurry vision, cold chills, forgetfulness, hunger, um, mean natured, obsession, overconfidence, seducer, seductress, sleepy, vertigo, vomitous, things like that. There's even some exotic effects that I thought would be kind of fun, like altered eyes. Your eyes change into the color of the drink, pupil and iris. You can only see the world in this color as well. It's little minor things. What's another one? Somebody pick a number from 1 to 20. Oh, named by the neighbor has one. All right. Yeah, Z. Yeah, I do too. I keep dice handy all the time. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. Dice's problem. I don't. You have a problem. Yeah. Listen, I've got. Oh, I'd have to reach past. I got to reach past Falcon over there. But yeah, I've got one of those little leatherette dice holders and whatnot. Yeah, yeah. Oh wow. Braven says Zamara's drink sounds literally like a pear cider. Ooh, ooh. All right, named by the namer, 26186. All right, okay, okay. All right, let's see. We've got a bubbly, number two, a bubbly ebony. That's different. Bubbly ebony, 26, and you 26186. Okay. A bubbly ebony whiskey. Uh-uh. That creates a friendly nature, which is kind of odd for a black bubbly fluid whiskey, but well, maybe the friendly nature is to throw you off. Hmm. Hmm. That might be a thing. But anyway, listen. I mean, and we're a lot of times I'll come up with a concept and I'll say, you know what, and I don't want to think it through too much because I want us to come up with a number of things, and I always feel like there's more to it than just, well, I'll make up an alcohol in my world and just be done with it. And I think there's more. We can have more to do with it. Like for example, maybe there's just the drink. I'm just going to call it Nectar of the Gods. There's a drink called the Nectar of the Gods, and maybe there are only a few people who know how to ferment it, distill it out in the woods. There are still people here in like the mountains of West Virginia, out in the woods, who have these distilleries and whatnot back during the age of Prohibition. I mean, even Prohibition itself is a unique byproduct of people drinking alcohol, and I think it sounds pretty good. And Brayton says, and that just sounds like an extra strong Guinness. Guinness beers are pretty dark, right? Aren't they? Those types of beers, bubbly beers, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Beautiful. Uh, naming it's called the Spider's Prayer, made by milking a spider bred in the Underdark by the Drow, and tart white fruit. It's used and sacrificed by the Drow, specifically. It's fed to the sacrifice. Ow! Could you? Damn! Imagine you feed it to the sacrifice, and the sacrifice themselves willingly becomes a willing sacrificial entity of sorts, right? And they give it to them. Maybe their eyes turn milky white, and their skin becomes um milky and almost unto death, or maybe it permanently turns their hair white, no matter who drinks it, right? Who they get to drink it and whatnot. Yeah, yeah. Or maybe there's a um 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 it's highly poisonous unless it's fermented in a specific manner, in a specific way to do it. And in order to get it done, this is old school drow for you young folks. There was a time when drow magic, like magic items, because they always had like magical elven cloaks, elven boots, and weapons and things. And if it was exposed to daylight, they would rot. But maybe this material needs to be exposed to the surface world daylight for just a specific amount of time, or something needs to be captured from the surface world, or I mentioned this before, maybe it has to be mixed with like a dwarves and gnomes pulling tubers from the ceiling like potatoes or beets or something like that, and they have to gather it and make it a certain way. And amongst the drow nobility, like they drink this like maybe it's no big thing, but for everybody else, it's like a point of pride and power that you can consume something that is highly poisonous. Maybe you don't even want to touch it, but they drink it in these small carafes or something like that, and it might be like, yeah, I've got it proves to everybody else that I have the power to do a thing. I don't know. I know I went away from the sacrificial part, but anyway, yeah, milking spiders. Ooh, I love it. That's disgusting. Sorry, I'm just thinking of like I'm thinking of old like Farmer Joe sitting on a stool like in a metal pan going underneath a giant spider. Oh man. Bray says, as for my golden spicy drink, Sunburn, it's made from fruit grown wildly only in the most sun-scorched deserts that are so full of natural spices and special salt that it causes an elated mood. Ooh, maybe it's very rare to find it because maybe it grows out like vines, and so in the root, maybe the roots reach extremely deep. When it pierces the surface, it grows out like vines, and it's hard to find it because when the winds blow, it covers the fruits up, and the fruits just deteriorate. They die when it's covered under sand, so it has to be exposed to the sunlight. So it's rare to find them because they have to literally the roots have to dig down far enough for water, which also might be a key to it's a blessing to find it because they know that the roots are digging down to a water source. And so when peoples find this, they make an alcoholic beverage out of it as like a thank you, like to the gods or something, like, oh, we found this place. And maybe you find the fruit, and it's like fibers travel long distances across the sands, and they have to follow the fibers uh, horizontally so they get to the point where it goes down into the ground vertically or something. Yes, yeah, Z, like eating pufferfish or millipede wine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where it's poisonous, and to them, there's just like another. It's like a or it could be a test of it's a test of loyalty. So they pour each other the drow pour each other this spider silk nasty ass spider silk wine or drink to each other, and they expect each person to drink it knowing that it could either be one of the most like enticing ephemeral drinks ever, or it's instantly will kill you. It's poisonous, it will instantly kill you, right? Yeah, that would be pretty interesting to have like no one knows whether it's it could be random, like no one knows whether it's made correctly, or someone very powerful is like, "Hey, you want to deal with me? You drink," and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like they could kill me now, and like, do I trust you? Do you trust me? Sip, look across the table, you know. Or what was another classic thing? Nobles having someone taste their food and drink their drinks before the noble did, so that they wouldn't get poisoned and killed. And this might be a reason why. Maybe the drow have, maybe the drow matrons have their boys drink it. They at least have like at least half a dozen boys around to drink beforehand. Mm-mm-mm. Brayton says it would certainly be a royalty exclusive, sacrifice exclusive drink, thanks to how rare the fruits are to find whole and how hard it is to get them. Yeah, yep. Fugu wine. I've never heard of fugu wine. Why do we do that? We're we're we are brilliant as a humanity, but we're also pretty stupid for like this could kill you. Here, let's make food and drink out of it. Zamara says sounds like something the Drukari would do. Not familiar with the Drukari, or maybe I am. I just yep. Oh, fugu is pufferfish. Yeah, we're pretty fugu. Yeah, we're pretty stupid as a humankind. But anyway, let's not burn out our great ideas because tomorrow we're going to combine some of the things that we talked about today because tomorrow is going to be Third Pillar Thursday, and of course, the Third Pillar Thursday is the third pillar of exploration. So, hey, oh, Drukari's in Warhammer 40K. No wonder I've heard of them, but I'm not not familiar with it. Bray's thinking the same thing I think. Yeah, nah. A person is smart. People are panicky, impulsive, and dumb. Yeah, yeah. A person is smart. People, a person is like, walks down dark streets and looks around and makes sure they're safe. People flip over police cars after their team wins and sets them on fire and wonders why they got arrested while hanging off of, I don't know, light posts or something like that, running down the street with their chest painted the two colors of their favorite team, right? Yeah, that's what people do. A person is smart. People are panicky, impulsive, and dumb. We sure do. We sure do a lot of that dumb stuff, don't we? That's wild. And you know what? Listen, since we're about to get out of here, we're talking about alcohol. What a great excuse to have dumb things happen in your world, right? Maybe whether it's a festival or a particular alcoholic drink was imported, or maybe there's a particular location in your city state where, like, I'm being stereotypical here, but like the forgiveness of things said and done over sake in a stereotypical Japanese styled setting where maybe the people are extremely reserved, but when in a location or drinking a particular alcohol or during a particular meal and they have the drinks or something, when they act outrageous, everyone just it's forgiven. Their behaviors or whatever, running wild, getting loud, turning violent, mutating maybe, being enchanted and stuff. Maybe all of that stuff is like, you know what, in that district, like what modern day used to be called the red light district, they used to put a red cloth and then use a red plastics and cellophane over lights to show that's where like the sexual district was. But maybe there's like a drinking district. There's a you hang grapes, or there's a certain color or a symbol or something, and if you go there you can act a fucking fool. And everyone's like, yeah, okay. And like, did you realize people were like running down the street, like trying to? I don't know. There's like what's there's literally an owlbear rodeo. And people are trying to ride the owlbear, and you're just like, what are you doing? And everyone's just like, woohoo! Why are people doing it? I don't know. We just it's just a thing that we do. Yeah, Zamar says ugh. World building wise, I recommend when building a city, think of the environment the city is in and a fruit or grain common to that place. That's their alcohol. Have that everywhere. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And you know what? That's why vodka, potatoes, sake with rice, rum, with sugar cane. Those locations around our world were created because that's where the sugars came from, right? So if you have that sugar content to be broken down, the what was it, the wood fibers, not really wood, but like plant fibers that create have those sugars in them, and that food is there. Corn is another one, and we can go on and on and on with those. But wherever they're at, I agree with you. Wherever they're at, that's where their alcohol is, and it's going to be everywhere. Yeah, hell yeah. And let's be honest. When people traveled the world, one of the first two things, if you can't speak anybody's language, the first two universal things are food and drink to exchange with one another. And if you can exchange food and drink with people and sit down, you can make friends for generations after that. And so the player characters could literally be um this could be funny, but the player characters could literally be on a mission to find the best drinks from around the world and travel like this, like you brought up before, Z. The Silk Road of alcohol could be a thing where there's this long journey and the player characters are the next generation of the ones to extend this journey to find these hidden enclaves of people that have these drinks and to bring them back home, and for people to go, well, I've never heard of a potato. What is this potato you speak of, and why is it so important? And you pour this like clear fluid and they're like, water, drink. This is awesome. It makes my throat burn. I love it. All right, under a underscore says that's where you can also have a class difference come in. Yeah, the common alcohol is everywhere. Yeah, yeah. But imported alcohol, that's for special occasions for the rich. Like how in the Middle Ages in Scandinavia, beer was common, wine was a luxury. mm, Sorry, wine was a luxury as it had to be imported. Hell yeah. And this could also give away someone who is hiding. Okay, um, I know nothing about wine. Period. Nothing. I know what it looks like. I know words that sound like wine things. But if I were to go to a high end restaurant, I wouldn't fit in because I wouldn't know what wine to pair with what foods, and that kind of knowledge is also kind of like fashion. So some things start to change over time, much like back before 2008, alcohol and wine wasn't as much of a thing in restaurants. But during economic downturns and depression, vices go up. Alcohols and wines skyrocketed. So now you have wines and beers paired with nearly every food item in every restaurant now. And with microbreweries being able to, people can make wine and beers at home. You can just get online and order kits and things like that. So it it could also, someone hiding like a rogue hiding in the upper echelons of society might give themselves away by not knowing alcohols to drink and how they are. You have to swirl it. You have to smell it. You have certain there's certain cultural um, behaviors associated with wine as well. You know, um, take pour. Someone goes on in television and they say, "Hey, pour me a double." You go, "Oh, they really want to get effed up." No, dots. Give me the bottle, right? And it gives us an indication as to their mind, their um where their headspace is at based on how they drink as well. Even before they had one drink, you can kind of tell how rich or poor they are, what status they came from, what country maybe they came from, or whether they're a stranger or visitor. So there's a lot of little things you can find just by how someone orders something, what kind of drink they drink, if they can drink it. Um, how often in a television show, when a guy refuses to drink, it's because they're an alcoholic and they don't want to drink, and when a lady refuses to drink, oh, it's an indication she's pregnant. And that's such shorthand for storytelling that it's become a trope on itself, but it's done so many times. Demian says most restaurants have a wine menu what you should pair with all the wines. Yeah, and I know it seems far away, but actually before the Great Recession, before 2008, that wasn't as much of a thing. There had always been drink menus, but the how it's been ingratiated into our culture really skyrocketed over that period of time to the point where we're just like, oh, it's just a thing now. I mean, we don't even think about it now, but yeah, there now today. Oh, there and most restaurants now have a specific manager who handles all the alcohols now, just because of that. Samara says in the build on that, nobles will always pay top dollar, yeah, for rare ingredients or for someone to follow rumors of alcohol in their half. Do that, make sessions out of it. Hell yeah. Yep, I'm gonna leave it. We're gonna say goodbye just on that note. Zamara brings up a good point. I mean, literally, just what a perfect reason for a fetch quest without doing the typical save the princess, find the magic, destroy the lich. I mean, here's a strange thing. Maybe there's a lich who is evil, but they haven't taken over the countryside. They're just old enough to have had to have a collection of alcohol that they remember from 1,000 years ago, and no one's seen it since. And the lich has it. And your job as low level to fight the lich, your job is to sneak in and steal something from their crypt, or maybe the lich off on another plane of existence. And it's like, all right, you've got a 3-day window because the lich always leaves, and the servants of the lich are like, great, come on, guys, come in the back door. You gotta have to steal this stuff and get past the lich's beasties and secret things that's where it's hidden in a place in the bowels of the wizard's tower or something like that, and get out of there. And what a great way to introduce the evil lich in the community, who gets pissed off, of course, because the lich is going to get pissed off when their valuable alcohol has been stolen. And now that the PCs went from 3rd level to 7th level, the lich is like, where's my drink? Where's my alcohol? I know that would be silly, but yeah, just a fetch quest. Hey guys, go over that mountainside to get this rare ingredient and bring it back to me. PCs are like, okay, let's do that. And then they get in all kinds of trouble just to bring it back home. I love it, Zamar. Um, Heck, PCs may not even be interested in it, but it could be the difference between maybe two nation states coming together. And this one, maybe a noble is like, look, we need to get peace. And in order to do it, we always heard that the duchy of so and so, they've always wanted to have this drink, and I know I can get it. It's so rare. And they said, if you can find this, I'm going to call it nectar of the gods. You call it whatever you want. If you're able to pour me a nectar of the gods, I'll sign that peace treaty, knowing that they'll never find it. Maybe they send a counter group of adventurers to stop the PCs. They go, they could never get the neck. I know I made this promise. I didn't think he'd actually go for it, but maybe the Duchess is like, kill them all. Make sure it never happens, or what have you. But anyway, guys, I got to get out of here. I know it's early as hell here in the States. I apologize for that, but no other way to game with the rest of us. So, guys, have a great one. I want all of you to think about your favorite libation. Tomorrow we're going to talk about some great great and awesome places to go get our alcoholic beverages from, or at least the ingredients thereof, because we love to talk about ourselves some exploration. So yeah, Zamara, I absolutely positively concur that what a perfect way to fetch quest. Oh, cool. All right, then I will bring a list. There you go. Bring a list of your favorite drinks and maybe some of the ingredients in them, and like why it's so cool. Yeah, okay. Thank you there, Michael Marin. I really appreciate that. Guys, have a great one. I will see you guys tomorrow.